Welcome to the Cutmaker podcast, your home for all of your PGA bets and DFS content. Very, very, very special edition. Man, what a day on the PGA Tour / LIV Tour. What a day. And people talk about golf's longest day yesterday. My guest today has had golf's longest day. Like Geoff Fienberg, I've known for several years, friend of mine from the PGA Twitter streets. I've been on his pod before when I've been in Vegas and doing sportsbook director drafts, and we'll talk about that later. But Geoff, buddy, like this is your day in the sun. Like this is Geoff Fienberg's day in the sun. So congratulations on an accidental day in the sun where you probably thought you're going out to the course. You know, you're going to check out, talk about the RBC Canadian a little bit here, talk about the depth of the rough and talk to Corey Connor's caddy and have some good insight on the course, and all hell breaks loose. What a day you've had, buddy. Like, man, I mean, like you've got to be exhausted. You're going to sleep like 12 hours tomorrow.
Yeah, the problem is Rory, who has not been on the course yet. Rory has not been out there. I think he just showed up at the property for this meeting. I know he arrived in Toronto and he's at RBC obligations, and I saw his caddy out there doing some work all alone, maybe trying to scout the bomb and gouge. But yeah, so he's out at 7 a.m. tomorrow and a press conference after. So we'll see if he speaks, though. I mean, although the Toronto media, not a lot of golf media are here, so it could be like an easy layup for him. He won't get a lot of intense questions unless I show up. I joke. But yeah, it was a boring day is what I'm trying to say. Like it really was. There wasn't a lot of action. I like Tuesdays. Like if you have a young kid and you want to go to a golf tournament and like just for the kid to just so you don't feel like you need to be there forever, kid can get so many autographs on a Tuesday. Things that would never happen on a Wednesday, even, let alone a Thursday, Friday, no chance. A Tuesday, you bring your little one, I'm telling you, he'll leave with all the signatures he wants. I mean it. There's places are barren and the kids can go right up to the guys and they're not like, after my round, meet me no, they're right happy to sign. Anyway, it was a boring day, Jeff. It was a boring day. And then like, holy shit.
Until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. And you could sort of see like players and caddies sort of talking about it. Or like on the putting green, like becoming verbal, people like showing each other their phones. Like you saw it like almost happening in real time. And then players making jokes. I was right there because Ira and Todd were like, what the hell? And then they were like laughing about their boy Swafford who like gets the bag and maybe gets to come home. And they're like, why didn't we take the $7 million? Like they're literally like, you hear them saying that. They're making Hideki jokes because everyone probably, for all the comments about what certain guys turned down, he probably turned down as much or more than anybody. Just, they love Masters champions, the whole Asian angle there and market. And they were making jokes of him, like flying Spirit Airlines, turning down the bag. Like,
and did you see what Benny On said? He goes, he could have bought Spirit Airlines if he went to
he could have bought Spirit. I didn't see that. What a joke. And a lot of the guys seem pissed, but at the same time, like this point, I'm interacting with like Andrew Landry and Lanto Griffin and, like I said, Kazire and Todd. Like we're not talking about guys who, but like at the same time, like things are probably better for them on PGA Tour. They can win a few more bucks. They can finish 3, 4, 5, 8 spaces higher in events. Like everyone's sort of enjoying what's happening. And James Hahn was walking around like a peacock, Jeff. Like he was, God, I am not an I told you so guy. Yeah, he's like, I'm not an
should be.
Yeah. But Jeff, he's literally said, I'm not an I told you so guy, but I told you so.
And God bless him. God, he took so much heat. He took so many bullets. Good for James Hahn. He should be. And honestly, it's like, God, who else was it I just saw that came out defending Phil? I forgot exactly who it was, but somebody else said something kind of similar, right? Like, I don't like, I like Phil and I've always respected Phil, and I've been kind of quiet about this, but Phil was right? In a lot of regards, Phil was right. And but again, Jeff, I stand by this, and I firmly believe this. I mean, the guy that there's no way this conversation started prior to the Masters, and I'm as card carrying a Stan as there is, but I give Brooks Koepka a lot of credit for this, because I think if he almost won the Masters, he won the PGA, very live to win the U.S. Open, which we can touch on here later. But if he and a handful of others, certainly Phil was relevant in the Masters, Patrick Reed was relevant in the Masters, certainly Bryson was relevant in the PGA, but Koepka is the guy, and he and the fans loved him, and it was a very pro Koepka crowd. I was at the PGA Championship; people were rooting for Brooks. I mean, or Blake, or whatever you want to call him. I mean, it makes me wonder if Koepka isn't this close, and the LIV guys are kind of just top 10, top 20-ish, whatever. Does this conversation ever happen? What do you think?
I can't think anything other than you're probably absolutely correct. There's not a chance in hell this is the story. This happens if he doesn't win the PGA. I mean, maybe the Masters got things rolling, and maybe it sped things up, and even like the haters realize, like at some point, like down the road, when the rhetoric is like we're far removed from the intense rhetoric of the last year, like they'll come together. But there's no way it happens without Brooks. And it's actually funny, like you're saying that, and I'm like, holy shit. Brooks is the like Brooks brought golf back together in some weird way. He's pretty awesome and crazy, and another, I guess, peg in the Brooks resume of being the freaking man. Like, well, if he doesn't win the PGA, this happened. This doesn't happen. Like, no way. Phil coming second at the Masters doesn't do this. Brooks even contending at the Masters makes a phone call. We're not here without that PGA dominance.
Well, no, and I guess the question is now I'm hearing, you see these conversations now, and I think it's funny. I was making the joke. Have you seen the show Succession, Jeff?
I'm not fully at the end, but I know the show. So if you're not going to spoil something entirely, I know all the characters. You can make.
Okay, well, perfect. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because this feels very much like it's just kind of comparisons. Like the PGA Tour is one party, and the LIV's another party on the show. And if you haven't seen the show, I won't ruin it, but it feels very, very similar in some ways, and it's like. It's all about leverage, right? And I think about, or the other example I use is the Hulk Hogan Gawker case, right? It's like, and for those who aren't familiar, Gawker is this. It was Deadspin and everything else, and this massive media empire that put out the Hulk Hogan sex tape, and Hulk Hogan tried to sue him and didn't have enough money to survive, and it kind of felt like with all these court battles with the PGA, it felt like the PGA Tour coward to LIV. Like LIV's just like, we're going to keep spending money and going to court and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, Jeff, they could sue all they wanted. If their golfers weren't relevant, it wouldn't have mattered. The thing is, their golfers were highly fucking relevant and continue to be relevant. And Phil could say everything he wants and whatever. And I want to talk about Phil a lot in a second here, but Phil can say whatever he wants, and it's in whatever. Eventually, that's gonna get old. You got to win golf tournaments, and Koepka coming back into alpha mode, I think changed a lot. I do, Jeff, want to talk about Phil for a second, and just him specifically, because it feels like, doesn't it feel like this with Phil? He's up, he's down, he's right, he's wrong, he's good guy, he's villain, he's skinny, he's fat, he's villain, he's hero. And I think this is like Phil's ultimate vindication spot right now, right? Like he's and you know what's right around the corner, Jeff? Billy Walters' book.
Oh yeah, so now he's back to
Phil when that comes out.
Yeah, geez, I forgot about that. So you're right. Phil's he's a winner today, but like in the casinos, looks like he's gonna be a loser tomorrow. There's a lot to say.
R.I.P.
there's a lot to say. And here's the thing, though, Jeff. Like, even people who didn't like LIV or can stand it, everyone quickly realized Phil was right. In the same way, like, I don't think the stars in any sport get paid enough, and they give too much money to like the third, second liners in the NHL. That's just an example. And the guys off the bench or the bullpen, like the superstars are giving their money back to their teammates all over sports. Phil was always right. The true stars of golf, they were never getting their worth for their likeness. Patrick Mahomes isn't getting his worth for his likeness. Like, that's just part of it. But then you saw the schedule change and the elevated events. You're like, oh, Phil was right. No one is denying I think Phil was right. At the same time, we're all like super amused at his, I've almost joked about that he's become like a Britney Spears to pop culture fans. Like, it's an unhinged, like, right, like we like you, we agree with you, but like you're unhinged on Twitter sometimes, man. Like, you're right. You're right. And he's going to show up at that US Open press conference so proud. So, like, next week will be a winning week for Phil, Jeff. And he's going to dominate that press room like we remember vintage Phil showing up at majors and dominating press rooms. And I can't wait.
No, and again, he better enjoy it. Because the Grim Reaper's coming soon, and his name is Walters, Billy. And soon Phil will be leaving pressers with a hoodie on and dark shades and sauntering out the back and pretending like nothing ever happened. But hey, listen, I mean, I'm here for it. I mean, again, this is listen, golf was on freaking CNBC today, Jeff. Like, golf took over national news today. This is as big a golf moment. This is bigger than LIV being created. This is the biggest news I can remember ever in my life following golf. I mean, I saw Paul Tesori say this was the most monumental day he's seen in his career on tour today. And which is it's fascinating and you know, and God bless you, you were accidentally in the middle of all of it. So I mean, you're out there, right? And all of a sudden, all of this starts going on. You start hearing these things, and all of a sudden, you're like, I got to find the media tent. What was your strategy? What was your thought when you're like, okay, oh shit, this is real?
Yeah, I mean, once that meeting report came out, like, shit, okay, now it's like it's a serious day. That means like Jay is, I don't know whether, I assume maybe he was here, but Jay's coming in and shit's about to get real. And me just picturing, knowing the exact room they're in and picturing that, and me joking, like, I know club staff. I know where the food and beverage staff entrance.
Didn't you say you had your bar mitzvah there?
Yeah, no, I'm a member. Yeah, Jeff, my bar mitzvah party was there. My wife forbid me from us having our wedding there. We've had a lot of things, Mother's Day brunches in that where that meeting was. Like, that's a common diet. I know I joked, I got to get into the food and beverage room, put on a sport coat, wear some slacks, a white shirt, and start pouring some water. Like, let's go. I obviously didn't have the guts to try to do that, but yeah, so that was the whole thing. And you could just, I try to be really coy with players. Like, they're not going to say anything. So I try to like say things like Monahan, like thumbs up, thumbs down, and like see them smirk or roll their eyes. Like, no one wants to comment on anything. I tried like Hatton. I'd be like, he might be a perfect guy. Terrell, what do you think about those guys who didn't take the LIV bag? He just shrugged. I don't know. Like, I don't know. If I tell him, I say like, this bullshit, mate, or something. No. Kind of stoic. And then I was lucky enough, like later in the day, to get to go walk some holes with Pendrith and Cockrell. And then it's like, we had to wrap it up. Pendrith wanted to get to the meeting. Cockrell wasn't sure, as a DP World Tour member player, if he was even allowed in the meetings. Like, maybe I'll just like blend in the corner. And then the meeting, and then that area is sort of like the front, not like the gate entrance, but the main entrance into the clubhouse, which was sort of that shot that was going around. And I was just sitting there with a lot of golf media, and I still find something interesting, Jeff. The first two people to leave that meeting, to walk out the door, they didn't say anything to the media. It was a no comment, just heads down, were Webb Simpson and Justin Rose. Outside of Rory, probably the two most accomplished,
The elder
elder statesmen, major
Yep.
champions,
Yep.
like as accomplished as anyone in that room past Rory. And they were the first to leave. And I'm like, did they hear something they'd say like, fuck you, and like walk out, like fuck, like I don't know what would cause them
I'll bet you $5,000 Webb Simpson didn't say fuck you and walk out.
No, but I mean, but like this is bullshit. Like we're like this bullshit. Like, why were they so to be gone quickly while the lesser lights in the tour are left there debating things with, between Shez and Wesley Bryan, who all are entitled to their spot. So that was something of note for me. Like, did they hear something they liked? Or like, okay, I don't need to be here anymore. Did they hear something that they were so turned off about? They were like, I don't even, this is such bullshit.
Well, bro,
both of those guys would have gone. Justin Rose and Webb Simpson would have been offered LIV deals for sure. Rose for sure. Rose absolutely. Webb, he didn't win a Masters.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I mean, if Pat Perez is offered LIV, then Webb Simpson be offered LIV, right?
Yeah.
But let's say this: how Tommy Fleetwood didn't even go.
Didn't go. Yeah, didn't go. And and listen, and I saw Ryan Moore walk right by me as the meeting was happening. I'm like, you don't care about the meeting? I don't care. Just kept walking. And not that he's in the same boat as Tommy Fleetwood at all, but yeah, I loved seeing that Fleetwood.
No, but he's a longtime pro. He's a relevant. I mean, he's not that relevant anymore, but he's a 15-year tour player, right? I mean, Ryan Moore's a relevant player. Yeah. So again, I mean, so many things are going through my mind, right? And I'm sitting here, and part of me is like, I gotta think that well, first of all, the first thing I think is there's got to be probably $2 billion earmarked for the John Rahms, the Rory McIlroys, the Justin Thomases of the world, because there's no way this gets done. And I've heard other people have a contrary opinion. My opinion is, if they're like, no, F this, I'm out on this. I'm hard pass on this. I'll speak out against this, blah, 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 blah. They're going to get a bag. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, if you're Ryan Moore, you're not getting a bag. But if you're Jordan Spieth, you are. I guarantee it. It's going to be $50 million at least. There's no doubt in my mind. Otherwise, I mean, I just don't see how it ends up any different than you. From the Saudis.
So they're going to get all the guys that they offer, like those crazy Schauffele, Cantley tag team joining LIV rumors for these insane numbers. Everyone who was sort of in that boat is getting a huge make good.
Yeah.
Because I agree. This is what I agree with. I'll promise you this. Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, all these guys, they're not writing a check to the PGA.
Oh, hell no.
They are not writing a check. Other guys might be getting checks, but I promise you, the guys that went and got the money are not writing checks. I swear. Maybe they'll have some PIP garnished in this new world, but they are not writing a check to PGA office. And
look, Jeff, listen, it's not going to be what it would have been had they gone to LIV. But do you think JT and Rory, or let me just back down, Xander, JT, Hideki, Spieth are going to turn down their $50 million checks? No, they're going to take their $50 million checks and they're going to sign their NDAs and they're not going to say shit. That's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to get $50 million each, and they're going to be happy with it, and they're going to go on and go play.
So I guess LIV just threw like one last enormous bag at a bunch of people, and now they have their seat at the table, which was always their goal. Like with soccer, like with auto racing. Now they're an official part of a major sporting entity. They have a seat at the table. That sort of feels like the goal from day one. Jeff, though, this does feel like, with how few answers came out today and how like no one seemed to know. And even it was reported the LIV players didn't know. I'm going to
Rory didn't know, and Greg Norman didn't know.
Yeah. And I'm going to assume Phil knew. The way he was tweeting, it almost felt like he had the Powerball numbers. Like the way he was tweeting on the week.
He's in LA at LA Country Club. Do you really think he knew? Because I felt like he'd have been there if he knew. Okay,
maybe that's a fair point. it does seem like, though, and Ogilvy alluded to it, that someone was this was happening and it was really close, and one of the entities had it and was going to leak it, and therefore they had to come out and say it, but they still didn't have any answers for players on either tour.
Well, but if you're a LIV player, it doesn't fucking matter, right?
Doesn't
you're
matter.
Like, oh, great news, right? But I mean, if you're and did you read the letter Jay Monahan wrote to the players? Did you read that letter yet?
I've seen snippets of it. I will say Jay could be in a world of hurt, Jeff, in the sense that it will now be spun on him that he used 9/11 families. Like he used them, which is so much. Okay, no, it's not worse than maybe doing 9/11. I just mean like in this PR game where you stood on that hill of they are that, you now use those families. And essentially to make your corporate case, you use 9/11 families. That is not going to land well, man. Like,
so Jeff, I'm older than you are, and I served 5 years in the Navy, and I got out just before 9/11, and I served on the USS Theodore Roosevelt, and my aircraft carrier was the one that went to Afghanistan and did the bombings after 9/11, the first strikes after 9/11. I am extremely sensitive to this, and it's so funny. Anytime any sport, and this is such a fucking joke, because it makes me furious. Because the fact that, listen, the fact that the PGA is going to sit here and this Moynihan thing is what, like, listen, if you really in your heart of hearts believe this, then you are not taking this angle. You're not selling out this art. No, but it's all because they didn't have a choice. They took a defensive stance, and they took the Patriot angle. And there's nothing I fucking hate more than somebody taking the Patriot angle because you don't have another angle to play, right? And that's exactly what the PGA Tour did here. They were caught in a bad spot, and so they tried to play the Patriot angle. And all of a sudden, Moynihan is everything's fine. I was dealing with the information I was given. Fuck you, dude. You were given the information you were given, and the information you were given didn't change in 90 days. The people you were calling bloodthirsty murderers 90 days ago, none of that changed. And I've always been, for me, this has never been about 9/11. This has been about golf. So the whole LIV thing never bothered me.
What's he referring to? Like, what information didn't he have? Like,
Jeff, nothing. What he's saying is that, because people are asking him, well, gosh, what about the LIV Tour? This, blah, 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 blah. The Saudis, well, I was dealing with the information. Jeff, it's fucking media spin. He's reading a PR script that somebody fucking handed him, and it's fucking embarrassing and ridiculous. It's a joke. But here's the thing, dude. You know this as well as I do. He knows he's going down. He knows he's going down, and he's going to have a 9-figure payday for going down, and he's going to move to Boca and fucking drive around in his $10,000, $20,000 golf cart and never be seen for like 5 years. Then he'll reemerge somewhere, like John Gruden, right? It's like random people who make a huge mistake, like O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson's playing golf in Vegas every day, right? It's like that's going to be Jay. He's going to get a 9-figure payday, disappear for a few years, take the fall, take all the bullets from everybody, go away. They'll all blame Jay, and he'll reemerge in 5 years.
Yeah, listen, everyone was made to look dumb. Like, even myself, like I was always one of these people that was like the Saudi thing didn't bug me as much as I'm a selfish, spoiled North American sports fan. Messi and Ronaldo don't play in separate leagues in the sports I watch. It wasn't about, like, the corporate hypocrisy of it was like, then I can't wear shoes, then I can't eat chicken sandwiches. For me, it was just I'm a spoiled North American sports fan, and I have an expectation, and you guys are doing it differently than the best players play with the best. Hockey players don't go to Russia. The best major leaguers don't go to Japan. When they're the best, they come here. Like, that's what we know as North American sports fans. So that was my view on it. And even today, Jeff, I made a comment like, Should I care that Morikawa might be at 50 million, 100 million, or should I be happy that I get Patrick Reed back and I don't need to worry about Neiman running out of majors because he's losing world ranking points? And as a Canadian with the President's Cup here next year in Montreal, I mean, that event is now made. Like, we get the Aussies back, we get the Africans back. Like, good, let's go. Come to Canada, let's put up a fight. Like, these are things I am excited about.
Well, and Jeff, and despite I believe when Rory said he didn't, or the narrative that Rory didn't know anything about this, I believe that. But how hard is it for the PGA Tour when Rory's coming out and saying Brooks should be on the Ryder Cup team? And he's right. Brooks should fucking be on the Ryder Cup team. And he's like, yeah, all these Euros suck. We wouldn't take them. But that said, and then Ron comes out and is like, well, sir, how do you say the best Spanish Ryder Cup player of all time shouldn't be on the Ryder Cup team? So you've got dissension among the PGA ranks about who should be on the Ryder Cup team, vouching for LIV guys, standing up for LIV. I mean, nothing was going right for the PGA in any of this. And I think ultimately, that's what's coming down here. People can talk about the court thing, and I'm sure that's maybe a part of it. But it's, as much as anything, it's the competitive nature of, look, the LIV's got, I mean, the LIV has two of the four major champions, almost three. If Brooks wins the U.S. Open, they'll have three of the four because the current reigning Open champion is Cameron Smith, right? So it's like, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know, man. I mean, I firmly believe there. I mean, and it's whenever it is, but there is, Jeff. I'll give you plus 500 on $100 bet on Jay Monahan being the president of this new enterprise 12 months from now. I'll give you 8-1 on $100 bet.
Jeff, a popular offshore, someone showed me the ticket. They got an 8-1 on Monahan to resign by the end of the year. It's plus 150. Like, they opened it at 8. It's plus, or maybe it was 6. It's plus 150 now. Like, the books, like, yeah, he's probably as good as gone.
Well, who else are you going to blame? That's the thing. That's the problem. There's no other scapegoat. And I mean,
in the sense, because the whole thing happened because they weren't taking care of their elite players well enough, and they got caught with their pants down, totally unprepared. And then they sold the patriotism or that moral angle that is now completely blown up in their face. Yeah, he's got nothing now. I mean,
well, Jeff, there's a popular adage in corporate America that's called one throat to choke. And it's when you've got a customer and they're dealing, you got a big customer and they're dealing with you, they want one person to deal with. They don't want to deal with 9 people in your company. They want one. That's their point of contact. That's their one throat to choke. In this instance, there's only one throat to choke, because who else are you going to blame on the PGA Tour if it's not Jay? You're going to blame Rory? No. You're going to blame some other Muppet who's in there? No. It's Jay. He is the face. I mean, hell, you can't even blame Brandel. And it's, I mean, and that's a whole nother side story. Like, that poor guy. And I'm not a Brandel guy, but oh my goodness gracious. If one guy comes out of this drawing completely dead, it's Brandel Chambly. Like, he has the nut low hand right now.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, he's probably, worse than, he should just walk off the Golf Channel set. Like, what card does he have to play? At least Jay can play.
Did you see what he said on the Golf Channel today? Did you see what he said? He says the darkest day in the history of golf. What's your next play after that? This is the darkest day in the, I mean, that's his mic drop effectively. I mean, they might as well
I don't know how old Chambly is, but I hope he doesn't have like a 7-year-old grandson who loves Patrick Mahomes, because it'll be a sad day when he finds out the Saudis own a big piece of Fanatics too, and he's not allowed to buy a shirt of a favorite team. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
he's not allowed to have an iPhone because it's owned 30% by the Saudi government. Apple is.
Yeah, like what? And I just, you're right. He is the biggest. We can, like, yes, guys like Rory had their legs cut out from under them, But Rory was dealing with sort of the information he had at the time, and Rory was being a soldier for the corporation he works with in the same way Phil writes. Well, he was right. Like, well, he's saying some insane things about LIV that might probably like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, settle down a little with some of these takes. But yeah, Chambly is just, yeah, he's but he still has a spot. Like, he's so polarizing that I think they like that. And like, he's no Skip or Stephen A, but in the golf sort of world, he's so polarizing. He's not like in jeopardy of losing his job. He just looks like a total moron. But on TV, that happens.
Well, and you're right. I mean, and that may keep his job because he's so polarizing. It's maybe he's not, because not like he was a one-off idiot. He's always being polarizing. So maybe that is what it is. It's funny you made me think of the Stephen A thing. That's exactly what I thought of. I mean, maybe that's and you know what? To Brandon's credit, people are talking about him. When golfers are calling you out by name, at least you're relevant. Nobody's calling out Steve Sands, right? Like nobody's calling out, random people. At least they're calling them out. At least you're relevant. So, well, listen, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little about the tournament this week. I mean, obviously, been dramatically overshadowed. But I do want to talk a little bit about this. We're not going to spend a ton of time just because we've burned up a lot on the LIV PGA talk, but obviously this is a course well, as you said. You've spent a lot of time here. I was interested to see some of the content that you were posting earlier, whether it's video, pods, whatever, and I appreciate you coming on, but everything else you've done this week. Obviously rough, a little thicker than you probably thought it was going to be. Maybe playing a little tougher this year than in years past. So, but when I saw you were hearing people saying 15 under or so. Is that still where you're going, or what are you thinking after today?
I gotta take another day. I mean, I have clearly had to backtrack on my take that I think they'll just take the course apart. But it's an easier course than St. George, Jeff, and they got to 19. So, and anyone who ever played it, I think, or saw it or read about it, had to kind of agree with me. But it seems like they've tricked it out. They've done a really good job. But here's the thing that I keep coming back to. Yeah, the rough is thick, but it's still a great place to plot around, easy to get to your number, and then they become birdie holes from the fairway. And while guys might make huge scores because the rough is thick, to me, there's still 2.5 handfuls of players who really aren't in it because they're just fine off the tee, and they'll be able to score like I expect guys will be able to score. But most people would agree the caddies are the ultimate, barometer in this. They're the best people to ask. And Corey Connor's caddy told me 13 to 15. I had a buddy who's also a member who was out there on the course that he was talking up some caddies, and he didn't even know I spoke to Connor's caddy. And he said the group of caddies he was chatting with said 15. Here's the thing. It was really windy today. It's not normally that windy. So maybe that was some in the moment recency when they're out there. But yeah, it's playing tougher than I ever could have imagined. And in some ways that's flattering because, I was like, people are going to be so and make all these jokes about the course. Regardless, I mean, it's a beautiful property. Craig Ranch gets beaten the shit out of by PGA pros. I'm sure their members love their property. I'm sure it's great for them. No different here. But yeah, so I think I've had to walk it back a bit, Jeff. I have, and I'm not the only, I have walked it back, but I still think they go very low. So maybe I'm hedging now, which isn't fair, but tomorrow I'll have an official answer. One of my buddies who is a member, Golf Canada asked for a couple caddies from the club, and the club asked a friend of mine. He's caddying for Sung You'll Know. And, but that's not the relevant part. For me, the relevant part is he's in the caddy locker room. And I'm going to be on him. I want the overall pulse of that locker room by late in the day, afternoon Wednesday. We've seen it a few times. What do you think, caddies? So
and they're going to say, my Airbnb sucks. I'm in a closet. The accommodations here are terrible.
They put me out in Pickering. I'm an hour from the course. Get me? Yeah, you're right. I heard a lot of caddies chirping their little logistic situations today. So yeah, I guess the scene. That's common. But yeah,
Jeff,
so I'm hoping he gets me a number, a hard, an opinion through the end of the practice sessions, what he thinks, and I'll tweet it.
We'll be looking for that because I know you will, and that's going to be. We're all going to be following you the next couple of days because this is going to be great. One guy I want to talk to you about who probably not a lot of people. In full disclosure, I've not watched a lot of content this week, so I don't know who's particularly popular. But I will say this: I'm going to fade Rory in every matchup. I'm going to fade Rory, and anything I can get plus money on his opponent, I'm going to fade Rory. And that's probably going to be common. So that's probably going to be a groupthink thing. But that's just me logically saying to myself, I have no idea how Rory's head is in this tournament, given at least in the first round or two, given everything else. But I do want to talk about Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor's the guy I'm interested in this week. I don't know if he's popular or not, but as his form's not great coming in, but not terrible as a few tournaments ago. He's had a really, for him, relatively good 23. Obviously Canadian, a little bit of Canadian narrative there. Have you given any thought to him or any looks at him at all?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my take, and then I want your opinion on it. As for Rory, totally agree. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, Jeff. He's not been on the golf course.
You did. Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah.
He's had RBC obligations, corporate ones. But he is not. He is not, and he's got that tee time tomorrow. I know his caddies like working, even like nudging on other caddies for some course info. Okay. Wow. So maybe the Rory MC with the USO, like he could be spinning, but not like that Rory's MCing because he's not good. Rory's MCing because he's just somewhere else, and the little energy maybe he has for golf should be focused on the major. And he's probably here because he's a two-time champion and there's obligations. And as I mentioned, RBC doesn't pay him to golf because that's illegal, but they pay him to do one or two things. And he subsequently decides, I'll golf. So he could be checking out on Friday night. And I don't know that him missing the cut is a horrible bet. Just like based on the narrative of what's happening. And I agree. You can get if you can catch like even a Hatton, if you got like a crazy Rose versus Rory price, maybe that's worth taking. And maybe
you get plus 200 on Rose. I'm in.
Yeah. And maybe you could find someone on the internet who wants that action. Although with this LIV news, people are now, it's probably going to be the popular thing. And we'll see if he speaks at all tomorrow, which is still maybe an unknown. As for the Nick Taylor, I will say he's not being talked about. It does seem like from the Canadian perspective, the trendy one is Svensson, but he does a lot of the Nick Taylor things, except Nick Taylor's probably a better putter. I have always had this beef or this thing with this tournament, and you smack me if I need to shake cobwebs, because I realized last night, maybe I need to be smacked on this. I don't fade. I don't bet Canadians at this tournament. We put so much pressure on these guys. It's so weird what we do. We're such a proud sporting nation, as is every nation, but unlike America, we don't win at everything. So we have to be very proud of any time we get a sliver. We put so much pressure, and it just feels like such an impossible ask. But I had this epiphany. Maybe I am in the headspace of 2016 when I started golf podcasting, when it was like Dillette and Hearn, and we didn't have a roster. Not to say it's like a super elite roster, but now that it's there's a group here. So maybe I need, maybe my head is stuck in this time where Canadians can't win the Canadian Open. There aren't really many of them, and Dillette was the only good one, and he wasn't going to do it. But then I go back to Vijay Singh literally trying to hand Mike Weir a Canadian Open. Mike Weir's been had already won a Masters. There shouldn't be so much pressure. You've won a Masters, pressure. Vijay literally said, Mike, you're one of my best friends. Here, win this tournament. Win this tournament. I want you to win this tournament, Mike. Mike didn't know how. Mike couldn't. You already won a Masters. What do you mean you can't Glenn Abbey? Your best friend's trying to hand it to you. So that maybe speaks to the pressure of it. But again, we got a roster. We've won 4 tournaments this year already. Connor, Svensson, Nick Taylor, and Mac. Was it Mac? Who am I forgetting? So that's crazy for Golf Canada to begin with. So yeah, tell me maybe I got to get with 2013, 2023, and Golf Canada is in a pretty good spot. Maybe they could actually pull this off, Jeff.
Well, no, it's funny you say that. I think you're right in both regards, right? I think Golf Canada is clearly in the best place it's ever been, but I think you're right. There's going to be a ton of pressure, right? Like, look, I mean, is it beyond? Could Svensson win? Sure. Could Nick Taylor win? Sure. But I mean, but God, I don't want to be Corey Connors this week. I don't want to be the popular Canadian, the guy who's kind of carrying the flag, if you will. And I'm looking at this just from a purely a DraftKings DFS perspective, Jeff. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, you got Fitzpatrick at 9,900, Connors at 98, Rose 97, your guy Fleetwood at 96, Lowry 94. Like DFS wise, I mean, I can't play Corey Connors because he's going to be popular because he's Canadian and he's good and he's Canadian. Like, give me a 9,400 Shane Lowry over a 9,800 Corey Connors at a third of the ownership, right? I'm in.
Yeah, you're absolutely. I agree. I would argue some of these other, and even like it probably feels like a better course fit for Hadwin, for Taylor, for Svensson, just in the sense that Corey Connors is clearly the best Canadian, and he can go low in a birdie party. He did it at Valero, but at a course where like the long irons aren't really asked, and it's about making birdies less so than making par on the hard holes, which he's great at. Yep. You almost want a guy like Hadwin who can, in my opinion, like American Express tournament this place and just nip it just plot around it beautifully. Again, though, with the pressure, the thing I just don't like investing in the outright, Jeff, is I wouldn't want to bet a guy to win the Valero who I thought is playing the Valero with pressure slightly less than a major. And that's what I feel these Canadian, like, I'm not getting a price premium for the pressure. And I would never blind, like, oh, hey, this guy's playing in this Valero, but he's going to feel like he's playing in a major. That's not something I really want to bet into. Yeah. I can play it both ways because it would be so great if a Canadian won. They'd be so happy, and it would be a nice moment for the tournament and for us here. So I'm not going to win money on a Canadian winning, but I'd love it.
Do you have your Tommy Fleetwood top 5 plus 400 yet?
I probably should, because that's what Tommy does, right?
That seems like such a good bet.
He'll tease. I will say, to the Tommy angle, I do like playing players the weeks before majors who I feel are hyper motivated because they have, like Jason Day. Didn't matter that there was a PGA Championship the next week. He hadn't won in years. A guy like, I'm not betting him because he's a bit out of it, but a guy like Cam Young, he's never won an event before. Yes, it's awesome that there's a major next week, but he just wants to win an event. I promise you. Tommy Fleetwood wants to win the U.S. Open. I don't doubt it at all. But he also really just wants to win a PGA Tour event finally, so people can stop saying he's never won a PGA Tour event. So I like the week before the majors, picking the really good players who still need to be really focused. In the same way, if like Morikawa to me, like if he's teeing it up the week before after a major now, and other people might be wishy-washy on their intent, no. This guy's got a win drought so long, like there's no wishy-washy to me about him. Now, you'd have to like the number, but yeah, I like good players who need to do something in the weeks before majors to get other monkeys off their back.
So what if I told you there's a guy who has 3 top 10s in his last 9 events, and he's north of 60 to 1.
3 top 10s in his last 9 events. He's north of 60 to 1.
He has 2 top 10s in his last 3 events.
Did I lose you? I hope not.
No, can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to open a new browser because I want to look at the odds board to be like,
he has 3 top 10s in his last 2 events, and he's north of 60 to 1. And I'll pull up, I know you're an odds checker guy, so I'll pull up odds checker here. And Canadian Open, he is. I just saw him on the site at over 70. Let's see where he is on odds checker.
Is it Michael Kim?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm not.
I am in on him this week. I am absolutely in on him this week.
Makes a lot of sense.
Top 10.
Okay, he seems like a guy that will be popular, but I don't know that should matter. I mean, there's a reason I guess he'll be popular.
Do you think he'll be popular? Do you think people even know who he is?
No. It does seem like he seems like a guy that people seem to be aware. I've caught on that he's doing everything right, especially as it pertains to what will be needed here. So I agree with you, Jeff, on that one. I'm in.
Yeah, from a betting perspective, he's super, and I'm sure. Look, I think people are going to be on Tyrrell Hatton, people are going to be on Rose, people are going to be on Connors. What do you think of the Todd father?
If he could hit a putt, this is his, man. Like
that's it. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, this is a Todd father like swing season layout. Just plot your spot. Play to your number. There's a lot of guys that have that like that Chez Reavie skill set, I guess.
Yes.
Get to your you could plot this place to death, man. And that's what I think. Like I think people might realize the juice might not be worth the squeeze when you can just simply get to your nice number and make it a birdie hole. Yeah, I like Todd a lot. Do you trust him to win? Okay, you want to know something, Jeff? Yeah. The way the score has come, my expectation or what I'm being told my expectation should be for the winning score makes me like Todd more. Because on Monday morning, recording content, and in my head, it's like 23 under maybe or he's 22. Not going to get there. He's not going to hit enough putts to do it. But at this range that's come back, he can do it. He's done it before. That's sort of a range that works for him. So, yeah, I like him more today than I did a day and a half ago. Absolutely.
Well, and it isn't that kind of, wouldn't you say Eric Cole kind of falls in the same spot? And I'll tell you, Jeff, the guy sent me a DM today of a really rogue number on a local book. Eric Cole 10-1 top 10, which is crazy high. But he's kind of the same kind of guy, isn't he?
My wife's friend's husband drew him in the Pro-Am tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right.
That sounds farther away than it is.
No, I know. I'm with you.
Just my wife's friend's husband. Yeah, he's in the Pro-Am. He works for a bank, and he gets to play in the Pro-Am tomorrow. I feel bad for him having to find his ball in that rough or hit in front of galleries that are kind of out there on a Wednesday, way more than a Tuesday. But yeah, he's playing with Cole tomorrow. So I'm like, that's a pretty sweet draw, man. Like, you could have done a lot worse. Like, he's a nice player who actually, his number crashed a bit. Like, since the Open, he's been a number that I thought I saw, like, at the Open, the 80s, mid-80s. Like, it's come down into the 60s because perfect court. Like, just hit your spot, hit the green, hit the putts. And unlike Todd, he'll hit the putts, and he could do it. I'd have bet him today if I could have gotten those Monday morning numbers, but he wasn't on my mind and I missed it. And now I'm like, I don't bet the lowest number ever. I don't do it.
How about Lashley?
Hadn't really thought of Lashley. I will say now that we're here, even before his great Saturday, Hubbard was a guy I thought maybe could plot around this place nice. Lee Hodges, now that we're sort of hitting this tier, I'm not outright, but more like placings or DraftKings.
Well, and I'm thinking a lot of these are DFS, Jeff. Right? I'm looking at this, and if I'm talking about a guy like Lashley, I'm thinking top 20, and I'm thinking DFS, right? So I'm looking at DFS, and Lashley's going to be 7,300 on DFS. He's top 20, going to be in the 6-1 range or so, somewhere around there. God, Carson Young is another guy. I mean, Carson Young's plus 750 top 10. God, he's probably got a really good price top 20. I had to look at that. I mean, guys like that, Norman's another guy who are kind of down around this range. I mean, he's interesting.
Love it. If he could hit some putts, he would be. Yeah. This is a wheelhouse for Vincent Norman. You just meant, who else did you mention before Norman?
Who did I? What did I just
I
say? I
like
just
that.
saw him. Hang on. Well, I'll find it again. But no, I mean, I think there's a ton of. I mean, I don't know. Just this whole top. I just saw who was it? I just saw. Carson Young.
Oh yeah, he's a guy whose number is cratered. Like people are like, there was some biggies flirting with really high in the hundreds, and he's sort of come down big time. And yeah, that might have been a misprice early in the week. Now it's down closer to like 125. I like him. And I guess I just want your opinion on this guy, because I
Yeah.
have moments where I'm like, maybe I'll do it. Then I'm like, no, you can't do it, man. I get Aaron Wise has not been good, but he's now like,
Oh, dude. Hang on. So Mitch Moss texted me and
yeah,
said, who's your favorite first round leader bet? And I just looked at the board. I looked at a number and I said, Aaron Wise is fucking 70-1. Aaron
yeah.
Wise. I mean,
Aaron
like,
Wise,
in my
like,
head,
yeah,
that was my first bet.
if we did this thing a few months ago, we'd probably be like the 14th, 15th best player in this field.
Yeah.
Right. And you could argue talent wise, he's
Yeah.
still very much there. So now I'm just going to make the case that the number is so high in a field that's so weak. And
Yeah.
it's just an angle to say maybe the cobwebs are out. Like obviously he had to deal with shit and he stepped away from it, but he's now played 2 or 3 events that maybe the bad is kind of out of the system, and this could be the week where we start to get back on track. That's an ask, but it's just like a guy off injury. It's like, oh, I'll ignore those first couple. Maybe those are out of the system. Let's go now. Today's the starting point. Maybe
Well,
people will wait to see a little life, but the
Jeff,
field's so bad.
You're never going to get a better price than Aaron Wise, right? And a field this bad, he's 100-1. You're never, ever, ever going to get Aaron Wise 100-1 to field this bad. So yes, I think that's absolutely worth a dart for me for sure. Another guy who's not too far, who's really close actually in him in price, but who's a different story. Again, 3 top 10s in 2023. Decent putter, short game has been dreadful. Decent wedge player. I mean, a guy who, and again, in a week where I just think you got to make, if your score is right, give me 100-1 Ben Martin. Why couldn't 100-1 Ben Martin win?
Yeah, I like Ben Martin. I always have this moment where I have to make sure I'm not talking about Ben Griffin. I'm talking about Ben Martin.
Yeah.
I did something embarrassing today, Jeff. I called Brandon and Dylan Wu are here. Yeah. And I called one of them the wrong Wu, but I said the full name, and I should have just said Wu. I shouldn't have tried to. I said like, "Hey Wu," instead of trying to put the first name in front of it. And maybe I got cocky. Should have just stuck with like, I'm not sure which one this is. You play it safe, hit the single, just say Wu. But no, had to put the first name in front of it, and he looked at me as like, "That's not me." And then I was like, "Dylan!" Like I got it right.
You should go woo woo woo.
Yeah. And then in my head, I'm like, oh shit, like it's all a blur, some of these guys. And then I joked in my head, like the Ben Griffin, Ben Martin, I mixed them up. Ben Martin is not that Ben Griffin has anything to do with anything. You could argue he actually could set up well. But yes, I like Ben Griffin. That was way too many words to say yes, I agree.
Well, and I, it's funny. I do, unfortunately, I do all the time with bigger names. I mix up Cameron Young and Cameron Smith all the time in pods because you talk about them a lot in shows all the time, right? And it's easy to be like, Young and Smith, not uncommon names, but so I do that all the time. You're forgiven. But yeah, and actually you mentioned Hubbard. I don't hate Hubbard this week. He was interesting last week, again, as a top 20 play or a DFS spot. Jeff, I had not given this guy any thought at all. And it's probably a bad play. I'm going ahead and say this now, but I'm thinking about a low-owned DFS dart and a guy where if you could just hit your spots, man, could we play Webb Simpson?
Wow.
5%? Can we play 5% Webb Simpson?
I mean, this is not a hard. He could easily get around here. I'm like, pardon my ignorance to say, like, I honestly hadn't even thought about him.
I hadn't either, but I just looked at his price. I mean, like, he's priced around, like, again, Lashley, Martin, Hubbard, all are going to pop in models way better. Body will be way more popular. Reevy will be more popular. Ben Griffin will be more popular. Everybody's going to be more popular. And then you just got Webb Simpson just kind of sitting there at 7,300, and he's miscut. Wells Fargo sucked, miscut. But then if he pops, then he just shows up and finishes 7th at the Valspar, right? Why couldn't Webb Simpson show up and finish 9th here?
I mean, there's no snake pit, but yeah, I mean, that's tight fairways, horrible rough. He keeps it in play at the Valspar, the fairway, and then, he's gaining close over 3.5 strokes with his approach and hitting his putts. I'm going to have to now look at this one. You think 5%?
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I think if he's 5% owned, I mean, I can see myself, and I usually play 20 lineups. So let's say I play 20 lineups. I can see myself playing 2 Webb lineups. Why not? I mean, especially in that range. I mean, I look at similar to Aaron Wise, right? And because I think Aaron Wise could win the tournament. Aaron Wise is going to be low owned. So I'm just thinking this DFS because I think Body is actually, I mean, none of these guys are going to be crazy popular. Nobody's going to play the hell out of this. Webb could end up being 2% for all we know. I mean, I think Ches will be popular because I think he's going to pop in a lot of models. I think Carson Young is going to be popular. He's been playing well lately in this low 7s. I'm just looking at guys. Cockrell, man, you met him today, right?
Yeah, no, I got to spend quite a bit of time with Aaron. What a great guy. And he's been playing these European Tour courses. He's been playing quite well for quite a while. I don't know that a win, even top Canadian, seems like quite a big ask, but
sure it does.
Yeah, he got around quite nice. He was in 20th place, I want to say, at last year's Canadian Open going into the weekend, and then it became a birdie party, clearly. How
about this, Jeff? He's 2-1 top 40.
Yeah, no, I actually put him up for top 40 for something I did this week. So, yeah, I do like that. I will have some Aaron Cockrell, and even for DFS, I think he could be pretty sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, I think do you think he'll be low-key popular?
Yeah, a little bit, because the European Tour guys have been hyping him up. He's been playing some really clean golf over there. Had a tough loss to Herbert. I think it was in a playoff, and his putt lipped out. It was so cruel. But he's piggybacked some really quality. He's on a quality run. He's playing the best golf of his life. Yeah, I like the top. I like the top 40. I'm gonna have the DraftKings for sure, more than I should.
What I'm looking here just randomly, and he's been. What, man? This is God, Jesus! I'm just sorry. I just looked at Lucas Glover's putting stats, oh my God, it is a bloodbath. Oh my goodness! Wow, God. Here's a guy. He went to my alma mater, and so I'm a little bit of a I'm probably the only Peter Malnati stan. I love Peter Malnati, but birdie fest, right? If it's a birdie fest, Peter Malnati could win.
He's a super dark horse. He's someone I've identified because he can just, I guess, set it with a few guys. I'm not shocked at all to see that Chez Reevy player profile. Brendan Todd's maybe the better version.
Ryan Armour.
Right. Oh, I joked with Pat, Jeff. A part of me would love to see a really high quality player win, because the dude who wins with the trophy is going to be plastered in a prominent spot in the locker room or the club that will live forever. and I used Ryan Armour. I said Pat. If I have to walk by a picture of Ryan Armour with that Canada Open trophy on this property for my rest of my life, it's going to bother me. Like, that's not what I want. But I'm mentally preparing myself for it because you mentioned like the Ben Martin. There's a whole swing. Like you could. That's why people are liking the dogs this week. But yeah, those guys are so alive. They are so alive.
It cracks me up. Because I'm gonna play a share of Ryan Armour in DFS just because. I mean, I can totally see that we're gonna be joking about this because look, like, well, no, because you know what you want. I mean, I know you well enough. I know you know what you want in your locker room. You know who you want to win. You want to walk by the picture of Harry Higgs. You want Harry Higgs to win this thing, and you want to walk by the picture of Harry Higgs. That would be the stuff of legend.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic. I want to say something, but I feel like it might put such bad golf juju out in the atmosphere that the whole week will work against me if I verbalize it.
Let's hear it.
There's a sick part of me, Jeff, that would love like a Monday finish. Like if I get to go to this property on Monday where it's like barren with spectators and there's dudes battling it out for the championship, I'll be the only guy in the golf content space that's so happy.
Well, no, hey, and listen, I mean, I'm not mad at you, dude. If that were my home course, I'd want the same thing, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not mad.
Yeah, but I like nothing is worse than Monday finishes. Like we want next week's odds up on Monday morning. Like screw, like come on.
But you could be selfish when you're this close to it. I mean, yeah, that's okay to be. It's okay to be this selfish. All right, well, listen, we're gonna wrap up here, Jeff. Give me one guy over 60 to 1, not named Michael Kim because that's my pick that you're gonna pick this week.
One guy over 60 to 1. I just want to make sure he's over 60. I'm pretty sure he is. Most places he is. Yeah. Nikolai Højgaard from 60 to 100, and then Mark Hubbard from over 100.
I like it. All right. I'm going to go Michael Kim and then over 100 just for the ultimate troll opportunity. What is Ryan? I'm going to go Ryan Armour. He's probably $1 billion to 1. Let me see what Ryan Armour is. Look at DraftKings real quick. What is Ryan Armour? He is, he's got to be 250, right?
More.
God damn. Ryan Armour is 350 to 1, and we are placing $10 on him right now at 350 to 1. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'll see that picture of Armour and I'll be angry, and then I'll think about you for the rest of my life. Also, Jeff. So there you go.
You'll be cursing me. You'll be, damn it, Jeff. Why'd you have to? I'll tell you what. Here's what we're gonna do. First of all, Jeff, you have an open invitation to Kepka-Palooza, Indianapolis, Indiana, August 19th. We will have kegs of Michelob Ultra. We will have the life-size cutout of Kepka, and we'll have $2,000 worth of Chick-fil-A. We'll have about 100 to 150 people here celebrating our Lord and Savior, Brooks Koepka. So you're invited to that. It will be and if Ryan Armour wins, I'll buy your plane ticket. So yeah, you got to come out. You got to come out for Kepka-Palooza. It's going to be this is the fourth Kepka-Palooza.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I've got. You imagine I've won over $100,000 on this guy in my life. If you want to, I mean, this is why he is. This is why. But I will say this in full disclosure. I would told you the story. This is no shit. I hate to admit this. In the Masters, I had ROM tickets. I had Koepka tickets, obviously, but I had ROM tickets too. And I was going to win about 5,000 or 6,000 on ROM if he won the Masters. Going into Saturday morning, I cashed them all out live and dumped it all on Koepka.
Yeah, whatever.
For the brand. I was so sure Koepka was going to win. Oh God, that was and candidly, I didn't win nearly as much as I would have on the PGA because I got snake bit in the Phil PGA. I got him so many times, but man, for him to get over this hump, for us Koepka stands, it was huge. So great day in the history of golf today, buddy. I know you've had a long day. I'll let you go to bed. Thank you a ton for coming on. You're a gentleman. Oh, real quick, Jeff, my last story, I'll tell you real fast. So you know how I do that the Masters draft and all the majors drafts with all the Vegas guys from sportsbook directors and VSiN guys and all those. I just donate every year, never win anything. This year in the Masters, I crushed. Sorry, in the PGA, I crushed because I took all LIV guys. So I had Koepka, I had Bryson, Bryson first round leader, cashed the ticket. Whoa. Koepka winner, cashed the ticket. I had Cam Smith, and I had Neiman, and I had Bryson, Koepka, Cam Smith, Neiman, and somebody else. And I won going away, won by a mile, won all the money. First time I've ever won, and it felt so good because everybody's anti-LIV, and I was the only guy that took all the LIV guys. It was fun.
That's I don't know. That's fantastic.
Bryson, first round leader. That's not one you would have thought.
No, it certainly wasn't. But I don't know. Yeah, easy game. It seems like an easy game. Bet Brooks, win a ton of money all the time. I don't know.
We'll be doing in LA. We'll be doing in LA for sure. So, all right, buddy. Well, listen, I got to have you on again. Thank you again for coming on. Go to bed, and we'll be following you on Twitter. Everybody at G Fienberg 17. Jeff is one of the best golf guy follows there is. Is a great guy, entertaining as hell. Is very generous with his time with a lot of us. Jeff, we love you, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
All the best, Jeff. Anytime. And yeah, that Koepka Palooza, I might actually take you up on it. So
August 17th, I gotta pull out bed in the basement. It's all yours, brother.
All right. Later, bud. Anytime.
See you guys. Thanks again for joining the Cutmaker podcast. You can find me at Cutmaker Jeff on Twitter. You'll follow us at Cutmaker Pod. Join our Telegram channel where we send out all our live plays every week. Thursday, all our outright cards, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we do live matchups throughout the tournament. So Friday morning, all the Friday matchups. Saturday morning, all the Saturday matchups. Sunday, some live plays, and the matchups for the weekend. Guys, it's been a ton of fun. What a week. What a crazy week in the golf world. So check us out at Cutmaker Pod, at Cutmaker Jeff. It's going to be a lot of fun this week, and hopefully we'll catch some more winners. So talk to you guys next week. Thanks for